So we've been talking about delivering happiness. There's so many books on happiness. As a matter of fact, remember our book we all created called Life the Manual, When the Pursuit of Happiness Makes You Miserable. But the idea of, we're in the feel-good business. We're a service company. So we're a service experience. It's not like buying a product that makes us happy, but it's an experience, a feel, a promise that makes us happy. So if we're going to deliver happiness, one of the things that we as a culture in our company talk about emotional intelligence, and one thing is empathy. How do you see, if we use that word empathy, what's the word for you? Is that hand-holding, sitting there going, poor person has a shoulder problem? Okay, I guess that's not what it is for you, but what do you think it is? What's empathy?
Empathy for me would be my ability to recognize what someone else is experiencing. So for instance, if you come in and it's important for me to be able to recognize that you're maybe not yourself today, and that you just you seem a little bit off. Maybe something, I need to be able to tap into the fact that maybe something happened in your life. And, whether we need to discuss it at that moment, that's not necessarily important, but I still need to be able to communicate with you and to create a relationship with you based on that understanding.
So if you don't relate to me, you're not making me happy. You're not listening.
I'm not making you happy, and I'm probably making you feel maybe a little bit not heard, maybe a little insecure, maybe a little bit of, do they really care? Am I in the right place?
So let's look at empathy. Does that mean that if a patient, for instance, is already an established patient, they've been there, meaning established 3 times, so they've gone through their examination, they've had their relating of findings, they've had several adjustments, interactions with 2 or 3 staff members. If they come in and say, hey, I'm really not feeling any better yet, as a matter of fact, I feel a little worse. So understanding that, and then they say, and by the way, I think it's the treatment you're doing. Can we be empathetic, but does that mean we have to agree with them?
No, it doesn't mean we have to agree. I think just that statement trips up so many people because they're like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Or, and then they become all defensive or something, and it's just, they get into this reactive mode and it becomes all about self, as opposed to just keep your cool, remain calm, really try to listen and understand what that person's saying to you. Maybe they're just really trying to tell you they're not sure they're in the right place. And maybe they might be saying to you, Doc, did you really hear what I told you the other day? Did you really hear that it's my lower back and you keep doing something up here?
Yeah, it's a long way away.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I understand.
If I'm going to deliver happiness, if I'd say something like when a patient says, hey, this isn't working for me, I think it was you that taught me just to say, look, it's designed not to work for people like you. I don't know if you taught me that, or I know
you taught me that.
I know. The thing about it's worked pretty good, right? If I want to move my practice down, but emotional intelligence isn't a theory, because emotional intelligence is physiological. It's not an academic exercise. It says that when you say something to me, I have this picture of a guy in my brain that has this EEG and EMG running along, doot, 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 and I'm picking up the pulse waves and the resonance of everybody around me. And if a patient's upset, or I'm a staff member and the patient's upset because they've had to wait at 15 minutes again. Every time the doctor says you need to be here tomorrow, they come in at 5:30 and then they've got this wait and they've got a lot of things going on. The staff's empathy is picking up on that. Staff can see the temperature, because if it's a high D person, they can see that smoke's coming out of the ear, and it's like, I bet that patient, let me see, could be upset, and we're not delivering a Zappos fun-filled event.
And the doctor's telling me to do this again, and the poor staff is over there worrying. And I kind of look at that as, if that ability to not really recognize empathy, I think it's misconstrued, because it's almost like, well, I'm supposed to take on their distress or take on their discomfort, because it's almost like making about myself. So I take their emotional stress or pain and I just put it in my knapsack. I'll just keep carrying that around. And so that limits our ability to have relationships.
Well, I want to go into that culture. How many people can you put in your tribe, in your culture? The thing is about EQ is it's measurable, it's meaningful, and we can reproduce it, and we can find out exactly what you need to work on. So these things we're talking about isn't just the word be empathetic. It's like, what does that actually mean, and can we measure it, and how could we improve it and build on that? We'll talk about that in some other sessions.